This is the Liz Harrison Show.
Good afternoon, folks. I'm Liz Harrison. Thank you for listening to Vigilant Liberty Radio. If you're catching this on K98Talk.com, thanks for listening there. It is Wednesday, May 13th. Freezing here in the Berg. Well, not literally. It's in the 40s. It was in the 90s over the weekend. Man, it's horrible. And it was colder earlier. And it's going to be colder tonight. Seriously? Mother Nature is schizophrenic. Global warming. There it is. I know, anecdotal nonsense, but still. Oh, spring in the Berg. It was starting to feel like summer. I liked that, sort of. I was starting to get acclimated to it, and then it did this, so, yeah. Had to totally screw me up. Anyway. Yeah, trying to stay off the bad news. I believe I went and told the folks who follow on the Facebook. We're not going to talk about what's on the news today, because the news channels are doing a good enough job. There's honestly not going to be any new news out of Philadelphia. So, just hope that those who were injured get well soon, and the families who lost loved ones have the sympathies of myself and everyone here at VLL Radio. So, let's see. Yeah, I promised sex, drugs, and rock and roll. No kidding. No kidding. Blame HuffPost or something, because that just started me rolling in this way, because I had already had the drugs. At least as far as the story is concerned. No, I am not partaking. Just had, a couple stories on drugs already sitting there, and then I had to see a headline from the 6th. It's filed under suggested for you in the right column. But I found it amusing. I really did. Yeah. Apparently, there is a survey out there, General Social Survey. It's a longitudinal study of over 33,000 adults between 1972 and 2012. And it asked participants about sexual norms, among other things. And this included questions on a man and woman having sexual relations before marriage, in their early teens, say 14 to 16. And then there were questions about sexual relations between two adults of the same sex. And then there was a question on a married person having sexual relations with someone other than his or her husband or wife. Okay. Now, the possible replies they could make were always wrong, almost always wrong, wrong only sometimes, or not wrong at all. In other words, they're trying to figure out your moral compass here, folks. Anyway. The findings. While people have become significantly more tolerant of premarital sex, adolescent sex, and same-sex sexual activity since 1972, it seems people still aren't open-minded about extramarital sex, defined as sex between a married person and someone other than his or her spouse, by the researchers. In fact, people have actually become less okay with cheating over the years. 4% of respondents said it was acceptable in 1973. 5.9% of men and 1.9% of women. No big surprise there. It seems the men are always all right with it more. But only 1% said the same in 2012. 2% of men and a mere 0.6% of women. Wow. Now, I think technically I would probably fall into the 0.6%. But this is only in recognition of something that annoys me. Okay? And I'm not sure, maybe the researcher, if they went and they really asked me why I was saying it, they might put my answer somewhere else. They might say I don't consider it okay. But the only reason why I would say it is okay is there are certain circumstances where people are married, and for whatever reason they have not filed for divorce, but the marriage is over. And more often than not, this involves abusive situations of one kind or another. Usually control of one kind or another, as in one spouse is threatening horrible things against the other if they do the deed of filing for divorce. That is a circumstance where I don't have a problem with it. So, like the things that we see on the TV drama all the time, the horrible spouses fighting and one screaming that you'll never see the kids again, or I'll do everything I can to keep from paying you support, or I'll just not pay it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Those circumstances where people hold off on filing the papers only because of threats of that kind, circumstances beyond their control. You know what I mean? Okay? So I'm not an immoral person. At least I don't think so. But yeah, I found that surprising. Yeah. And the irony is, while fewer people approve, theoretically it's easier to find sex outside of marriage now. So, if you think that it's wrong to cheat. As for why this has occurred, I'm going to take a leap here. They don't give the numbers for the 90s. Post-HIV. And for that matter, parts of the 80s when HIV became prevalent and it became apparent that it was going to affect more than just the gay population. When people started realizing diseases couldn't tell the difference between who you slept with. Yeah, difficult to understand science. Anyway, I wonder what the numbers were then, and I'm wondering if we're having an uptick or if it's actually down. Like, as in, if there had been a point in time out of fear of getting a disease that could kill you, was there a much lower number than what we're seeing now? Who knows? Or at least statistically significant, because we're talking tiny numbers anyway. Anyway, just thought, throw in the sex here. Anyway, on something that isn't exactly sex, but is from the realm of really stupid stuff Facebook does, and really stupid Facebook policies. Okay, this is the story about Tawny Willoughby. And I caught this yesterday on the BuzzFeed. Okay, and this is under health news. A woman with skin cancer posted a graphic selfie to warn against tanning. I know, what does this have to do with sex? I'm getting there. Anyway, it's really grotesque. The marks on her face post-treatment because after having things removed from her face from this cancer. So, she stated, if anyone needs a little motivation to not lay in the tanning bed and sun, here you go. This is what skin cancer treatment can look like. Wear sunscreen and get a spray tan. You only get one skin and you should take care of it. Learn from other people's mistakes. Don't let tanning prevent you from seeing your children grow up. That's my biggest fear now that I have a 2-year-old little boy of my own. Okay, and then she added answers to questions, which of course don't show in the page here. Now, her picture has been shared almost 50,000 times, and that was as of yesterday. It's probably been shared more because it hit the BuzzFeed. Well, after the picture began to gain popularity, someone reported it to Facebook for containing graphic violence. But in spite of the complaints, it hasn't been removed. This is where I'm going to get into the issue of I don't like Facebook policies. Okay, and she stated, well, it only took 10,716 shares for my photo to be reported. If I knew who reported it, I would give them a major side eye and the finger. Laugh out loud. Okay, that's Tawny's reply to that. And it says on the picture, someone reported your photo for containing graphic violence. Status, this report is being reviewed. So, BuzzFeed also goes on to give a lot of really good hints on what to do as far as preventing skin cancer is concerned, sunscreen, etc. And I'm going to put the link to this story on today's show post, so do take a look at it, seriously, because she is absolutely right. You do need to worry about this. However, as far as the, quote, sex is involved, the issue that caused someone to report it, of course, was the idea of somebody going and posting a picture, a woman posting a picture of herself, potentially after being abused, assaulted, domestic violence, rape, whatever. Now, I have a problem, Facebook. Depiction of graphic violence needs to be clarified. Graphic violence is like what I saw on the Zero Hedge, which I may or may not, I'm not going to talk about it too much because, that's just really ugly. Zero Hedge put up a story about a man who had been savagely beaten by a group of teens. And the video on that post was cell phone video showing it. That is graphic violence. A video showing somebody being beaten. A photograph showing an individual being hit. In other words, this requires 2 people in the photo. Okay? However, I have a problem with Facebook if you are going to sit there and tell me that it is in your community standards to remove photographs of women who have been battered, who choose to show their own photos. I agree it should be removed if they didn't do it themselves. But if they choose to show photos of damage that has been done to them by someone else. This should not be removed. Because why would a woman put, or anyone for that matter, woman, man, doesn't matter, but why would anyone put a photograph depicting injuries from an assault? Why would they put that on Facebook? For the same reason this woman put the pictures up about what can happen if you don't use sunscreen. If you go to the tanning bed, you can get skin cancer. And she wants to help other people so that they don't end up making the same mistake she has. Now, you want to talk about empowering women. You want to talk about squashing domestic violence. Here's your challenge. I'd love to understand it, and I've heard of individuals having their photos taken down, and I will go and try to contact a living human being at Facebook in the next few days. I'm not holding my breath. But I want to understand. If women would choose to go and put photos of themselves after they have been beaten on Facebook and tell their stories as a cautionary tale in the hope of preventing even one other woman from suffering the same fate, please explain to me how that is depicting graphic violence. And this goes for all of the above. I mean, Google has their issues with it, Bing, all of the above. They have issues. They will sit there and tell you, you can't put our ads on your page if you have this kind of content. If it is glorifying it, yes, I agree. If it is like the Facebook communities that Facebook did not shut down, Muslim men comparing notes, how best to beat their wives. Yet they went and shut down a group with the woman in Saudi Arabia who was encouraging women to drive. Teaching men how to beat wives, good. Encouraging women to challenge the fact that they are forbidden to drive in Saudi Arabia, bad. Posting photographs of oneself after being assaulted in the hope of causing one woman to not suffer the same fate, bad. Really? Priorities, people. It would be really great if you could take a step into the world of reality. Of course, we're talking about people who think that trigger warnings apply to concepts, to people that happen to disagree, which obviously is not the case. Or that they think that trigger warnings are something that you can not attempt. Like, if you have triggers, you shouldn't attempt to get rid of them. You should have warnings about what you're doing and just keep them nice and safe and warm and live your life unable to face all sorts of different things because it's a trigger and it reminds you of something horrible in your past. You don't want to move beyond it. You want to keep your triggers. Okay. I understand. Really, I do. Okay, no, I don't. It is the definition of insanity. Quite literally. Women who talk like this desperately need therapy. This is part of the reason why I don't engage Because I have this basic little rule in my world. You don't go after individuals that are mentally incapable of dealing with you. You don't do it. These women are mentally incapable of engaging in a meaningful conversation about anything like this because they are intentionally handicapping themselves. Mentally, emotionally, etc. They are handicapped, and not in a normal way. It brings self-loathing and self-hate to a new and exciting level. And it's not a good thing, even if I do call it new and exciting. Anyway, I didn't want to go off on that tangent because, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Anyway, onward and upward. Gotta love the special little... special little snowflakes. Yeah. Anyway. Drugs. Pennsylvania. Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I'm enjoying the punchline here, folks. Really, I am. Pennsylvania Senate again passes medical marijuana bill. This may or may not get buried in the House. The upside is that the GOP actually does have some people in the House that are for this. The downside is that, see, I'm not even sure what the argument at this point is from the PA GOP. I don't know if it's over, we don't want any drugs legalized, or is it, we don't want another bureaucracy added to our government. I'm starting to think that it's leaning to the latter. And honestly, I think that it really wouldn't be necessary to make it really insane. I think theoretically they would be able to figure out a way to run this much the same way that they run other prescription drugs. But I have to see the law. I have to see what they're planning. The only thing that I'm seeing out of Philly.com is the state health department would issue patients marijuana access cards valid for 2 years and create a digital registry to track and verify licensed growers, distributors, and patients. They have added Crohn's disease to the list of possible ailments that you could have that would justify getting one of these cards. As for a full list, I'm not sure. I have to go and look. But I'm not particularly interested in wasting my time doing that until it moves beyond committee in the House. Because it's filed under, well, there went 2 hours of my life. So, we'll hold off for now. I'm not going to worry about the details until it makes it through the House committee, because God knows what they'll do to it. Anyway, the Senate bill passed Tuesday is broader than last year's, covering more than a dozen ailments and allowing marijuana to be administered by doctors, nurses, and patients via a topical ointment, an ingestible oil, a vaporizer, or a nebulizer, similar to an asthma inhaler. Smoking would still be prohibited. So, we're talking about delivery systems that deal with a more pure form of THC. So, we're not talking buds. And we're not talking marijuana brownies. At least I don't think so, because I don't recall seeing any recipes for the oil, but who knows, I might be missing something there. I guess I'll have to talk to some people in Colorado. They probably know. Oops, did I say that out loud? Yeah. Anyway, the punchline to all of this is, of course, Pennsylvania is a control state when it comes to alcohol. Of course, the argument is every state is because they all have laws regarding the ingestion of alcohol, primarily ruled by the Federal Department of Transportation. Basically, if you want federal dollars to fix your roads, you must have the drinking age set at 21, and there are all sorts of fun other regulations having to do with what makes a DUI. Okay, we all understand that. I'm not exactly for or against all of that regulatory nonsense because a lot of it is filed under common sense, as science shows that impairment happens at an earlier point. I'll go with the science. If I find out later that they were lying, I'm going to sit there and say, maybe we need to readdress that. But DUI is one thing where I don't have a problem with regulations because you basically are dealing with something where the person is not potentially going to be causing just a victimless crime or just hurting themselves. They can kill other people. The vehicle becomes a weapon, and that's not right for me. So anyway, yeah, we are a control state. We have state stores. We cannot buy bourbon at the supermarket. We have to go to a state-controlled, state-managed liquor store with state employees, which also means we're going to be paying state pensions for all of those employees. We pay the leases on the buildings. We pay for the maintenance of the property because all liquor that comes into the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania goes through warehouses owned by, you guessed it, the Commonwealth. So, and also they have some of the most bizarre return policies known to man. As in, you can get free liquor by opening a bottle in a way that is different from just popping the top, i.e. cut the bottle. And you can get the liquor out into a bucket or whatever you want, and then you could go and break the bottle, take it back to the store, and they'll hand you another one. Did I just go and show people how to steal liquor in Pennsylvania? Oops, I might have done that. I don't care. You know why? This is filed under. Eventually, the state store system is going to start making taxpayers realize it is not cost efficient. And they're really going to ask for the people to open the books and not lie. Because there are certain little things that are not included when they sit there and talk about all of the revenue they make off of the taxes and the sales. And that is pensions, for one. For another, employee pay and benefits. And we can go on and on and on. So they've been lying about the numbers for years. It doesn't get any better. It's not going to be getting better. A little bit more about the drugs when I get back from the break, because I hit the bottom of the hour. So just be aware. We'll be talking about heavier drugs now, you know. See, I'm one who says legalize them all. This is probably showing a step in the plan to do that, which I consider a really good thing. I'm really frightened because of where it's coming from. It is somewhere in Massachusetts. Liberal land. Scary, scary. Anyway, it is the bottom of the hour, so here is the news.
This is Vigilant Liberty Radio News for Wednesday, May 13th. After spending $205 million in taxpayer dollars, Hawaii's Obamacare Exchange website will soon shut down. The website has failed to be financially viable due to lower than projected Obamacare enrollment figures, and the state legislature recently rejected a $28 million bailout. This means the website will be unable to operate past this year. The Hawaii Healthcare Connector will stop taking new enrollees Friday and migrate to healthcare.gov, the federal exchange. Outreach services will end May 31st, and all technology will be transferred to the state by September 30th. The entire workforce will be eliminated by the end of February 2016. The Department of Health and Human Services gave over $205 million in federal grants to Hawaii and has spent nearly $4.5 billion on other state exchanges with little oversight and few strings attached. Hawaii is not the first state to see an exchange fail. Cover Oregon received $305 million from HHS and failed to produce a workable website even months after the November 2013 deadline. Massachusetts, Maryland, Vermont, New Mexico, and Nevada also join the list of states that have failed with their exchanges. The Cannes Film Festival, set to open May 13th, will be on high alert following the Charlie Hebdo shootings in January. While there are no specific known threats to the film festival, having the eyes of the world on Cannes could be a liability. Security will include up to 400 SWAT-style CRS officers to beef up patrols. Municipal police officers are forbidden from taking time off during the 12-day run of the festival. Plainclothes National Police will be on patrol, along with 400 private security guards who will be licensed to carry firearms, a rarity in gun-unfriendly France. The University of Virginia Associate Dean of Students has filed a multi-million-dollar defamation lawsuit against Rolling Stone magazine Tuesday, alleging it portrayed her as callous and indifferent to allegations of sexual assault on the University of Virginia campus. Nicole Aramo is seeking $7.5 million in damages from Rolling Stone, its parent company Wenner Media, and Sabrina Rubin Erdely, the journalist who wrote the piece on sexual assault. The story was retracted after news outlets and the Columbia University Journalism School found serious flaws in the piece. Aramo argues in her suit the article destroyed her credibility, permanently damaged her reputation, and caused emotional distress. And Moody's has downgraded Chicago's credit rating to junk level BA1 from BAA2, citing a recent Illinois court ruling voiding the state's pension reforms. Moody's saw a negative outlook for the city's credit and said they see the city's options for curbing growth in its own unfunded pension liabilities as having been narrowed. The downgrade affected $8.9 billion of general obligation, sales, and motor fuel tax debt. This has been Amy Curtis with your Vigilant Liberty Radio News for Wednesday, May 13th.
Hi, I'm Taylor Millard, co-host of The Right War, here on Vigilant Liberty Radio. I'll give you one simple reason why you need to listen to Liz Harrison and me every Wednesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern. You never know when I'm going to put my foot in my mouth. Liz, I've had similar situations with you in bed. Wait, what? What? That just came out way wrong. That's The Right War, every Wednesdays and Thursdays at 11 p.m. Eastern, here on Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Hi, this is Steve Hamilton, station director at AltCon Radio, and that sultry voice you're listening to is Liz Harrison on The Liz Harrison Show.
Bust out the windows, put his family on food stamps now. He's a big spender, no food on the table, and the bills ain't paid, cause he's spending on cigarettes and PGA. They'll turn us all into beggars, cause they're easier to please. They're feeding our people that government cheese.
Okay, I'm back. What I was referring to before the break. You don't get in trouble if you have drugs in Gloucester, Massachusetts. No kidding. True story. Yes. People who turn in their drugs to Gloucester Police Department and ask for help won't be arrested. They'll be rehabilitated. Yep. And additionally, the department is going to be using money they seize from drug dealers to provide Narcan, life-saving drug. This is what you need if you have someone overdosing on narcotics, Narcan. They're going to provide it to the families of addicts and pharmacies free of charge. Right. Now, the chief of police there, Chief Leonard Campanello, said that over the weekend, you walk in, you want help, you turn in drugs and paraphernalia, you will not be criminally charged. Yeah. Campanella said, "We will assign them an angel who will be their guide through the process, not in hours or days, but on the spot." And he says, "I've never arrested a tobacco addict, nor have I ever seen one turned down for help when they develop lung cancer, whether or not they have insurance. The reasons for the difference in care between a tobacco addict and an opiate addict is stigma and money. Petty reasons to lose a life." So, now this guy comes by this honestly. Before he became the chief, he was a plainclothes narcotics detective. And he posted his plan on Facebook. It already has around 29,000 shares. And that was, let me see. Yeah, that was earlier today. Or yesterday, sorry. So, as of yesterday, nearly 29,000. I haven't, I guess I could go and look right now and see how many shares. Okay, blah, blah, blah. 30,702 people like this. 28,619 people have shared it. And it outlines his entire plan. And he is planning, he's already gotten support from Leahy Hospital and Medical Center and Gloucester's Addison Gilbert Hospital, and they've agreed to expedite care for police referrals. Otherwise, he's currently planning a trip to Washington, D.C. to meet with Elizabeth Warren and Ed Markey, his senators, and U.S. Representative Seth Moulton, Democrat out of Salem. So, kudos to him. Kudos. I'm sorry, there has to be a break point, folks. Really. We've been having this war on drugs for how many years? I keep on saying legalize, and people are like, oh, but then you won't have illegal drugs to go and get, and you won't have any drug dealer. Yeah, no. You legalize drugs, you're still going to have illegal sales. No matter what. Case in point, look at alcohol. We still have moonshiners. There will always be somebody who will want to take daddy government out of the loop when it comes to selling. So we will still have individuals who deal drugs illegally. We just won't necessarily have as many. And instead of going and sending that money into a black hole, the money from that could be used to do exactly what this officer is doing. To help people that decide, hey, I made a mistake getting involved in drugs in the first place and I need rehab. Yeah, we'll need more rehabilitation centers. That means more jobs. Okay? And a lot of these places will tell you that there are people who have gone clean and become really great rehab facilitators. Which means that you're possibly generating a situation where former addicts would have a job helping new addicts. And I understand it sounds like a vicious cycle, but the bottom line is that no matter what we do, the drugs are still going to be there. They've been there forever. For as long as man has existed, as soon as man discovered a way to get high, it has been happening. It's just the way it is. You're not going to change that. So instead of criminalizing it and creating a lot of expenditures and a lot of danger for a lot of police officers and other people, the public in general. I mean, how many communities do we have that have been destroyed by drugs? How much easier would it be to build them up if you at least reduced the issue? Just saying. Anyway, enough with the drugs. Enough with the drugs. You know, because I might start talking about gangs and then it will just not end. I promised rock and roll. Forgive me now, but we'll be fair. I go to Rolling Stone, not for stories about rape or anything else really hard or important. I go to Rolling Stone for entertainment news, because they still are capable of doing what they were supposed to be doing in the first place, which is interview rock stars. And actors and actresses and supermodels and Kardashians that are simply celebrity for breathing and having a big butt. Anyway, Faith No More. Yeah, they're coming back. This scares me. I was never a huge fan, you know. It's filed under... There was one song that, you know, I'd hear it, and it would get stuck in my head. And y'all probably might know which one that is, so... give you a little snippet of it. So, you know, because I'm such a nice person, I want to get this song stuck in your heads, too.
Anyway, you will never understand it, cause it happens too fast. And it feels so good, it's like walking the glass. It's so cool, so hip, it's alright. It's so groovy, it's out of sight. You can touch it, smell it, taste it so sweet. But it makes no difference, cause it knocks you off your feet. You want it all, but you can't have it. Crying, lying on the floor, so you lay down on it and you do it.
Alrighty, that's enough of that. Of course, that was Epic by Faith No More. And I gotta look here. The new album that they are bringing out now is called Sol Invictus. And it's the first album since 1997. Which, of course, isn't when Epic came out. No, that was 1990. So, right after I graduated from high school or something. Well, the year after. Anyway. Yeah, that shows how old we all are. Yeah, they're getting old too. So don't feel bad. Anyway. The picture that they have on the Rolling Stone. Well, done by Getty, of course. It looks very odd. You thought they were weird before, they're weird now. Just saying. Bunches of flowers and all that stuff on stage. They're all in white. Yeah. We'll see what happens. Anyway, they put out a new album. Well, or at least they've released 2 songs from it. One of them is flat out explicit. They're both explicit, but one is even down to the title, so we're not even talking about that. But Faith No More built a reputation for, well, not following rules. They did everything. Well, they did anything they wanted. They theoretically paved the way for Nirvana. After doing Epic, the hip-hop deal, they ended up going with, I don't know, the remake of the Commodores. Easy, which is another one of their more popular songs. No, I am not playing that one. I will go and play a snippet from the new one, which I guess theoretically might be a little bit related to Angel Dust, which was as described by Rolling Stone as the avant metal terror dome, Angel Dust. And Entertainment Weekly called it probably the most uncommercial follow-up to a hit record ever. Well, yeah, their uncommercial status remains. Although today, they're saying, it's not radio friendly. Well, who listens to radio anymore? So it could be argued that Faith No More back in the 90s, with their switch up of style every album and just flat out insanity, was before its time, and maybe they will manage to get a great amount of success now, or at least better than they did then, because where do we get our music now, folks? YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Pandora, Last.fm. These are all things where radio friendly doesn't matter, because you have people who will sit there and pick various genres of music and sit there and tell the machine, pick stuff for me. And this could easily be pulled up on for various reasons. Yeah, you listen to Nirvana. Yeah, you could end up pulling up some Faith No More. You listen to some death metal. This song, Superhero, which is the newer one. I'll go and play a little bit of that, and you'll see what I mean. Alrighty, that's more than enough of that. Oh, seriously. No, that's filed under, I could see myself putting that on a playlist that, when I'm really frustrated and annoyed and trying to plow through piles of writing. Yeah, that's the kind of music I listen to. Be Afraid. So, yeah. I can see this. I can see them getting a fair amount of publicity, success. The variable music style thing is probably not going to hurt them. I don't think it's hurting Mumford & Son. The Mumford folk, they went from one type of music to a totally different one too. And from all indications, while they're not falling off the radar, they're still being featured off and on. When I go and open my Spotify, it will say there, hey, you want to listen to them? So, we'll see. The only thing I'm wondering is that are they going to be able to pull off the big stadium deal? Because I'm sorry, that's why I'm laughing at the picture that they had here, because it reminds me of, you know, some sort of weird, funky 70s thing going on there with all the flowers, or even 60s. The flowers and the white stuff, and yeah, when they're playing music that arguably reminds people of the good old big hair days and the epic rock bands and the stadium shows. So we'll see. We'll see. They're going on their first North American tour in 17 years. First album since 1997. They're theoretically not fighting anymore. You know, because that's, well, isn't that the bottom line? Every time a band falls apart, it's because somebody was fighting too much. Yeah. Anyway. Shocker of shockers. Actually made it through the whole show today and have time to go and talk about something that wasn't mentioned on the Facebook. So I'm sitting here trying to think, okay, what would be good? You know? I know, because, you know, Superhero was the name of the song. We're going to go over to Vulture, vulture.com. Abraham Reisman, or Reisman, whichever way he wants that. He was lucky enough to go and have a little chat with, let's see, let's get the name right. Jason Aaron, the writer of Thor. Yeah. You know where this is headed, folks. Female Thor. They have revealed the secret identity. It's Jane Foster. For those of you who have been paying attention to the Thor on the big screen, that's Natalie Portman's character. So, what does that mean? Well, I'm not really sure. Okay. Now, first she ended up picking up the mystical hammer, and this was after a still mysterious incident that rendered Thor unworthy of wielding it. Basically, she turns into the superhero. She becomes Thor. But there's a catch. She's battling breast cancer. So when she lifts the hammer, she becomes a superpowered god. When she's not using it, she transforms back into her weakened mortal self. And what's more, they also seem to be making the magic transitions something that makes her cancer worse. Seriously? I'm ambivalent about that one, folks, really. I mean, I was upset in general about the concept of having a woman become Thor in the first place. I was like, why can't you make a female that is just a kick-ass and superhero of her own making, her own legend in the Thor epic? Why aren't you doing that? Why do we need to make her Thor? But anyway, now they go and double down on the thing to make me ambivalent by weakening her when she doesn't have the hammer. That's there's all sorts of negativity involved there, really. It's like almost like they want to put out the message there. Yeah, we'll make you a strong kick-ass woman, but every time you do it, when you're not being that way, you're going to be weaker. I understand the whole kryptonite deal. You got to give your superhero a weakness. But this one, I'm not so sure. Of course, it also lends itself to something else that I was thinking, because I'm like, okay, maybe this is just a thing where they're giving themselves an easy out. That if the Jane is Thor thing doesn't work, the magical transitions just simply kill her. Everybody gasped now, because I said to kill her off. Could do that. Anyway. The thing that I found amusing was Jason Aaron. He was asked about this. They went and they said, how relieved are you now that you don't have to keep Mum around everyone you know? And Jason replied, it's good. It's good for the secret to be out. If anything, I'm not getting text messages from my mom anymore demanding to know who Thor is. And then he went and said they wouldn't even tell his mom. Yeah, your mom legitimately on pins and needles? Yeah, Mom was very impatient. She was always trying to trick me to get me to tell her. I was steadfast, though. I wouldn't even tell my own mother. And then he said, the interviewer said, that's true commitment to continuity and publishing schedules. And then, of course, he said, well, the word leaks, you know. I don't know who my mother talks to. I'm afraid to ask. Really? Wow. I don't know. Anyway, this is filed under one of the series that I'm remotely aware of, but I'm sorry. I'm not big into the big, blonde, pretty hair dude. It reminds me too much of the, the dude from the front of the romance novels. Although his hair's longer. I'm terrible. What can I say? Well, hey, can you blame me? I mean, go from being on the front of the romance novels to doing butter commercials. And then go and think of Thor. Yeah, not working. I'm going to try, though, really. I feel guilty, because if I'm going to talk about this stuff, I should probably read some of it. So the comic book dudes who normally listen to me, possibly my co-host, he hears this, that's it. I'm going to end up with it in my mailbox or something. Anyway, it is about that time. So, it is Wednesday. That means 7 o'clock to 9 p.m. You've got Rod Eccles on, 7 to 9 Eastern. Then from 10 to 11 p.m. tonight, you have Modern Comments Radio with Amy Curtis. And at 11 p.m., it is The Right War. I will be back here. And we do not have a guest, so this will be old school with just Taylor and me. Appropriately so, because, you know, he was away for so long, so I miss him. I'm not going to share him with a guest, really. Well, except for Jason, who will be on tomorrow night, I think, as far as I know. Yeah, Jason and Taylor will possibly have a little thing to say about whether or not they're going to end up raising hell somewhere together. So you'll want to listen in tomorrow night too. But tune in tonight because, you know, I brought up the Thor. You know it's going to happen tonight. We'll see what Taylor says and how many comic books I end up with on my doorstep. Have a great one, folks. I'm out of here.